There we are. We are now in plain view, Bert. The whole world
Making
can
me
see
afraid
us.
already. Making me
Yes.
afraid already.
So, Bert, welcome to what is the ninth Mög Late Night from this
hmm
first season, which is also the last one before the summer holidays because I need a break. Um, so I thought let's go out with a bang and invite Bert Broneel to the Mög Late Night. For the people that are watching for the first time, um, the idea is that I'm chatting with Bert. You can ask questions in the live chat, which I may or may not pass on to Bert. But the most important thing about this thing is I'll introduce Bert for a second, and then we'll put something into our glasses, and the talk starts with whatever we put into our glasses. So Bert Broneel, he's the guy behind Asta Morris and Rasta Morris, and maybe more to come in the future. Independent bottler of whiskies and rums, and also of the very nice gin, Noch, no ordinary gin, and all sorts of other stuff. And an all-round nice guy. So Bert, welcome. Let's put something in our glasses. While
hmm
I'm pouring, you can already start talking about what you're putting in your glass. Tell them.
Well, what I'm putting in my glass is a Glentox of 2009,
Is that the PX
which was
cask?
bottled. That's a PX cask, which was bottled last year. So I have been doubting all day already. I have 6 bottles lined up here, and 2 minutes before we started the chat, I got another one because I prefer that one even more, just because of the story. In fact,
Yeah. Maybe
this is a
maybe
cask of.
maybe a little bit of backstory for the people watching. Bert was stressing the whole week about what he was going to put into his glass. So I'm glad he chose the Glentochers because I really like that one too. But go ahead, tell me the story about the Glentochers.
So this is a cask. This is a cask that's in Scotland that I'm having ever since I believe 2011 or 2012, and my son was born October 6th of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So this whiskey has been distilled September 30th of 2009. So this whiskey was distilled 6 days before the birthday of my son. I mean, 3 years later. So this became whiskey just 6 days before my son was born.
All right.
So this is his birth present from me to him.
The cask.
This cask, yeah,
All
the
right.
the other one, because this is a butt,
Yeah.
and the butt has been put to 2 refill bourbon barrels. So one has been bottled, and the other one will be kept until he's old and wise enough.
Until he sees fit to either bottle it or do something what he likes with it.
Exactly.
All right.
That'll
That's a
be that'll
nice
be his job
present.
to do.
Yeah.
Let's see about that.
Yeah. Have you got
It might be.
casks for all of your children?
Thank God I haven't got too many children.
Yeah.
My daughter has a cask of Benriach, also a sherry butt, which was distilled April 10th, 2008.
All right.
And my daughter was born April 10th of 2011.
So that's exactly.
So her cask was exactly became whiskey on her birthday, the day
Wow.
Johan van Summeren won Paris-Roubaix.
Oh yeah, that was a memorable day. Johan van Summeren.
Glorious day, glorious day.
Glorious day. Yes, yes, yes. And were you watching the cycling while your daughter
Exactly.
was getting born?
Because I was afraid no, she was born at 1 in the night,
Okay.
and I was afraid there was going to be many visitors all day, but in fact we didn't see anyone until the race was done,
Until the race was
and
over.
15 minutes after the race was over, the first visitors came in. So it's a as everybody has been watching that race.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
That
was
was
happy
a
about that.
memorable day. Memorable day. Yeah.
So this way, both my children have a cask of whiskey, a sherry cask of whiskey, which turned whiskey right before their birth.
Okay. That's a good story. That's. I mean, it's a good thing if you're into whiskey, as a dad to give that kind of present to your
Exactly.
kids. Do they know already that they own a cask?
Vaguely,
Vaguely. The,
vaguely.
the well,
Some
basic.
things some things are better to be kept silent until they're
Yes.
old and wise enough.
Until maturity has hit in.
exactly.
Perfect,
But I'm
perfect.
just the one who have to talk about maturity hitting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. For some, that takes a lot longer than 18 years to get mature.
It can be different. Indeed. So
Yeah.
that's the story that's the Bottle Light shows, and I just thought about it 2 minutes before we went live.
Yeah. Okay. Nice one. Nice one. Well, I'm going to tell you what I have in my glass. I chose this thing, uh, which is a really nice color, I think. I haven't
Great.
tried this before. This is the first time I'm trying this. It's Ad Fontes.
Hmm.
It's a beer. It's a lambic with wild cherries, but also méthode traditionnelle. So with champagne yeast. It's aged for 5 years sur lat,
5 years.
and it's with cherries. So it was a bottle that was that I got from I think he's watching our mutual friend Christoph Tack,
Hmm.
who told me you should try this because this is really nice. And I told him I'm gonna save this for a good occasion on one of the late nights,
I
where I can link it with the guest I'm having because I know that you love this kind of stuff.
well, I
Um,
almost had a goose in my glass.
yeah, that was my other
I was
choice,
going
but
I was going to take the Driefontein Golden Blend.
ooh, that's a nice one too. Ooh, yeah, this is good. This is good. You should try this. I know
Well,
it's quite
save me
rare, but
some.
I'll I'll send you some. I'll send you some
Save me some.
next time I'm in the neighborhood. I'll try and bring a bottle.
Hmm.
It's really unusual. Hmm. All right. So Glentochers, it's actually a really good choice because it probably showcases what you do with Astamoris pretty well. You choose lesser known distilleries often.
I try to choose lesser known distilleries because one, the availability of casks is higher, so you can easier get casks. And second of all, they don't ask completely crazy and silly prices for those casks. And three, with that type of casks, you can still surprise people. I mean, if you taste certain bigger names, people always know exactly what to expect or what they're
Hmm.
gonna get. And then sometimes people are more looking to seek after things which are bad in whiskey
Yeah, looking
rather
for the
than
mistakes.
seek after, yeah, exactly. And people approach it in a more positive way, has been my impression sometimes.
Hmm. I think it's the biggest. I don't want to say problem with whiskey nowadays is that people expect a lot of everything, especially if it's well known.
Oh yeah, in a way yes, in a way no. When we started 25 years ago, there was nothing. There was almost nothing. And what was there was very cheap. So we bought Arbeck Dark Olorosos for 150 euros, for example, and there wasn't a lot available. So
Hmm.
we could easily, there wasn't too many choices to make. But today there's so many choices to make. So I can understand that people choose good things and that people get picky, or that people get or people are getting more are more going to how should I say it in English? The people are getting more
Aware, maybe
exactly, exactly.
aware of
Also, prices got much higher, so I understand people are looking very very well before buying or before purchasing bottles of whiskey.
hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, probably because there's just so much more information around.
Exactly.
Now, the thing is, it's hard to not have information about bottles or
When we
bottlings.
started, there wasn't Google, for example.
For example, yeah. The main problem now is to distinguish the good information from the bad. Maybe what is marketing and what is good information.
Let's not get started on that one.
Let's not get. You don't want to talk about marketing.
Well, friends of mine say your hairs go up if you hear the word marketing.
Yeah,
I mean, my hairs. It's a matter of speaking. I mean,
of course. Yeah. So let's not go into marketing then.
let's go into the real stuff.
Let's go into the real stuff. You mentioned earlier you started 25 years ago.
Mhm.
How did you get into whiskey? Have you always loved whiskey?
Until I was 19 years old, I didn't drink one drop of alcohol, so I didn't drink any alcohol at all.
All right.
And back then, a friend of mine was working in a speakeasy bar, which was in Avelgem, from Gerard Vermeers, from the very well-known cabaret piece Avelgem, Jus de Jus. And
Let's check that all on YouTube, guys. Jus de Jus from Gerard Vermeers. Yeah.
so one evening we were closing the bar together, and he said, "Don't you want to drink? I'm offering you a last drink." I said, "Why don't you try whiskey?" I said, "Carlos, come on, you know I don't drink any alcohol, so why all of a sudden we start having a whiskey?" I said, "No, Carlos, I'm not going to drink whiskey." Well, he said, "It's something very special. It's a culture at itself. It's something very typical. You have to taste. It's very rich experience. Is this, is that?" And after a while, I said, "Okay, well, then pour me something." And he poured me a Jack Daniel single barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And I tasted it, and really lightning struck. So I was like, "Wow, what's this?"
Okay.
And the week after, we closed the bar again together and had a second whiskey, which was a Glenlivet, 12 years old, I think.
Just
And the third
the
week,
official bottling, yeah.
yeah, there was not much more
Of course,
available.
yeah.
And the week after, it was in 1994, I believe. It was 1994, so it's quite a while ago. And the week after, we tried the Glenfiddich, 12 years old of those days.
Yeah.
And the week after, we were out of whiskey, so we had tasted everything which was in the bar.
Yeah.
So then we bought each our own first bottle, second bottle, third bottle. You know how it goes: fourth bottle, fifth bottle, and that kept growing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1999, we went to Islay together, and there we founded a club was called the Wheat Drum Whiskey Society,
Yeah.
which is
Which still exists.
still existing today, and which is going strong still today.
There's probably guys from the Weed Run Whiskey Society watching right now. So,
I hope so.
yeah.
Maybe even Carlos, because
Well,
Carlos and I, we have a past together. We know each other for a very, very long time.
Carlos, if you're there, give us a shout in the live chat.
Great guy.
Yeah. So, what I was wondering about, so you had 3 whiskeys. You were out of whiskey. And you were out to go buy whiskey. Did you have
Mhm.
a shop in the neighborhood then that had a good selection, or where did you find your whiskeys then?
The first one, I believe I bought in a supermarket, like many people. The first I
Of
bought
course,
in
yeah.
a supermarket. The second I bought in a supermarket. The third I bought in a supermarket. And then later I went visiting someone in a hospital. And straight
Okay.
across the hospital, there was a huge wine and liquor shop. I stepped in, came out with Oban, 14 years old, and Highland Park, 12 years old from those days.
The classics, yeah.
Yeah. And then we went to Islay together, Carlos and I, in 1999, it was, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there, before Kalila, we met Gustave de Bolle
Mm-hmm.
by coincidence. And Gustave said, "Yeah, this is the third time I'm visiting Kalila, and twice it was closed, but this time I'm going to visit it. I'm very happy. I'm this, I'm that." We were chatting, exchanging business cards, exchanging phone numbers, and more chatting, more chatting. All of a sudden, it became 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They closed the doors. Kalila was closed. Gustave de Bolle couldn't visit for a third time. Really happened. Really happened.
So you were to blame,
And
basically.
then we visited Gustave de Bolle's shop later, some weeks after. And there we saw things, and we noticed things, and we learned things, and there we got completely crazy.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
I
the
think
whiskey house, which has been something, a milestone for many people, I think.
yeah, it's one of those places that come up in a lot of stories about how you got really
Mm.
addicted to whiskey. Yeah. I think what you're saying now is that was the classic way to get into whiskey. You first
Yeah.
discover all the readily available ones,
Mhm.
the classic malts, all those kinds of stuff, and then you get into the more specialized stuff. And I
Mhm.
think that's the best way to do it. But I think a lot of people are skipping those steps nowadays.
Exactly.
Would you agree?
Exactly. Totally. Totally. Many people start tasting whiskey, and their fourth whiskey is at 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't drink 30 years old whiskey until I was drinking whiskey for 10 years, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you should first get to learn to appreciate The normal
And also
stuff, I think.
bad things, also taste bad things, because today people only taste good things,
Yeah,
but they never tasted or never had any bad things.
of course, because they read about the bad things and they skip them.
Exactly. There was no
Yeah,
blogs in those years. We sound like two old men, don't we?
we well, yeah, you're older than me, but yeah, I wasn't even
Uh,
around back then. But I started only 15 years ago with whiskey,
mhm.
which was basically too late to for the golden years. But
We're still
yeah,
better than today.
yeah, well, yeah. If I had known then, that's the thing most the phrase most used by whiskey enthusiasts. I think if I had known. Um, yeah, go ahead. You
Today I saw a friend post a picture of a Port Ellen on Facebook, and he said, if only Port Ellen was cheaper. I said Port Ellen was cheaper.
yeah, it was cheaper. Yeah. Um, I had a good question. Oh yeah, yeah. You were talking about tasting bad stuff.
Mhm.
No, no. First, something else. So you started out with the Jack Daniels. So that was the very first drop of alcohol you ever tasted.
Yep.
Were you into flavors or tasting other things?
Not really, not really. No,
You weren't really the lover of good food and good things that you are now.
I was 19 years old. I was 19 years old. We were having pitas and
Yeah,
no, not like now. Not like now. I was a young guy, like many young people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, and yeah, it's probably hard to tell what struck you in whiskey. Was it more the mutual
It
thing
was a taste
with Carlos
experience.
or
Also, mutual thing with Carlos, but it was mainly the general taste experience, because I never ever had anything like that before in my whole life.
okay?
So if you don't have any alcohol, all of a sudden you taste the whiskey. I do remember my father had from time to time a bottle of Glenfiddich, 12 years old. And I had smelled it. I always said it stinks.
Yeah,
And then I tasted many years later that Jack Daniels, and then
yeah,
was like, I must say, if I bought a Glenlivet 12 years old, I wasn't too keen on that one. I bought this the Glenfiddich, wasn't too keen. It's only if I bought at Highland Park.
yeah.
There it really started.
The peatiness, maybe.
Slight peatiness, elegant
Yeah,
peatiness.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then on to the other thing I wanted to ask is tasting bad things. Um,
Mhm.
I think everybody that knows you knows. If I ask you what's the worst whiskey you've ever tasted, you're gonna say the Edradauer Tokai or the
Mhm.
Logdu, maybe. Um, but
Or log do. Yeah, no, no, no. Drop it.
drop it. Okay, drop it. Then it's broken if you drop it. But that's maybe
Yeah,
a good
I
thing.
know.
Yeah. Um, but what is the main thing you can learn from stuff like that if you're tasting it?
Learn. I don't think it's a question of learning. It's a question of widening your taste palette. It's a question of experiencing. It's a question. If you're tasting all, I mean, this is neutral. This is good. If you only taste this, I think you have to make sure you taste everything, and you have a very a wide range
Hmm.
of taste memory and stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you only taste the good things, then how can you recognize a soapy whiskey if you never ever tasted any soap?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How can you recognize a sulfury whiskey if you never ever tasted any sulfur in a whiskey? So I think it's all a question of enlarging or making your taste palette wider and bigger.
Mm. And also, of
It's
course,
mainly a question of that.
and also, of course, of somebody explaining to you what the sulfur is that you're tasting, because you can taste something and you can say I don't like this, or maybe you do like this, because there are people that like sulfur, for example.
Mhm.
Um, but if nobody ever tells you that's the flavor you're having, you will never be able to pinpoint that.
Right.
Is that right or not?
It's not just telling you. You also need to experience, because if I'm telling you sulfur is bad,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
will you
sure.
recognize it?
But while you're tasting, yeah,
It's also a question of being able to point it out, being able to detect it.
yeah, all
Because
right,
once on a festival, I had somebody tasting one of my whiskeys. He said, "Oh, it's all sulfur." I said, "No, no, no, that's not sulfur." I taste another. I take another, because sometimes I bring bottles. of which I say it's minus 1 token if you taste it. So that's just to initiate people to a
Yeah.
different style of whiskey. And then I took a bottle. I said, "Plup, clock, 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 clock." Said, "That's sulfur." He said, "Oh, oh yeah, indeed, yeah, yeah. Oh, indeed, it's something else." So
Yeah.
so sometimes people need to be
Yeah. That's
pointed a bit in the right direction, I think.
that's also something you notice when you're talking to people at festivals or in tastings. That they it's very hard to describe flavors. It's very hard to talk about them because
Hmm?
it happens a lot with beer tastings I do that people say, "Oh, this is a very bitter beer," and they're having a Geuze, for example. They don't know even the basic difference between bitter and sour. So
Who hasn't got any bitterness at all?
of course, yeah. So that's exactly the point.
Try Duvel.
For example, yeah. But people, the point I'm making is people probably know what they like and don't like, but they can't explain why they
Yeah.
like it or don't like it. The soapiness you're talking about. If somebody here is saying Tim Brew, I don't know. Port Ellen. Once had a Port Ellen that tasted like soap. Can't remember which one, but it was by an independent bottler. Would you know?
Couldn't have been mine. I never bottled any Port
You
Ellens.
never bottled any port, so it wasn't Bert. So he's not to blame for this one.
But
Um,
there are Port Ellens out there with some funkiness. Let's say there are some.
so that's an example of marketing, Bert. You're calling it funkiness. Somebody else might call it soapiness. So, but calling it
I
funkiness,
don't I, I don't know who's all listening.
okay. Um, yeah. Some other thing is you're obviously a whiskey lover, also rum
Mhm,
lover, and in the meantime, I
mhm.
think you're basically like anything that's good. Doesn't really
Trying
uh,
to.
have to fit into a category. Um, do you often just have a drink, or are you always working?
No, I often do have a drink.
Yeah.
Every Monday evening, I have a meeting with my best friend, and every Monday evening, we enjoy some nice things together. And it can be rum, can be cognac, can be whiskey, can be beer, can be anything.
Yeah. Have you noticed at some point in the 25 years that you've been into whiskey, into drinks, and also becoming a professional in the business, that you lost that ability to enjoy it?
No, it's two different things. It's two different things.
Yeah.
Tasting a range of cask samples and enjoying a dram in the evening when you're watching, for example, television, it's two different things.
Yeah. Of
Yeah, I
course,
can still enjoy a very good drink.
that's perfect. And I knew, of course, but I do notice that some people sometimes um yeah get too professional about it. It's their job and they can't really enjoy it anymore. Um,
That I think it's
that's a
a
shame, I
personal
think.
thing. I think it's different for many people. It's a personal thing, I guess. So for me, it's not the case.
Yeah. What because you have your whiskeys, you have your rums, you have the gin.
Mhm.
What is your favorite at the moment? Would you say
Still whiskey.
still whiskey?
Still whiskey in a way that in rum, I have the impression I can discover again. Because in whiskey, we tasted so many things. There's so many good things, so many bad things, so many very good things, so many very bad things. And it's difficult to find whiskies of which you say, oh, wow, this is something very different. Like, for example, when the first time I tasted a Bear Barley, like from Bruichladdich, Bear Barley was the first
Hmm.
one I tasted. I absolutely loved it. It blew me away. It cost €37 for a bottle.
Yeah,
I said, wow, this is a profile I never ever had in whiskey. I just loved it
because it was new.
because it was different. It wasn't
Yeah,
wasn't really new. It was something I didn't have before.
yeah.
And in whiskey, that doesn't happen so much, and it doesn't happen too often anymore. That's something I can really say, wow, this is something new.
Hmm.
And with the rums, I have exactly that feeling again, which I had with the whiskey 20 years ago.
Yeah, the feeling that you don't
Discovering.
that you don't know everything yet, even though, well,
In whiskey,
well,
I
it's
don't know
it's
everything yet by far.
it's badly phrased, but I think you know what I mean. It's
Yeah,
you've had so much good stuff. You've had the 99 out of 100 whiskeys. score. So yeah, I can see where what you're getting at. What was the last whiskey you were really surprised by, or you were really a fan of that you tasted?
A whiskey that I really was a fan of when I tasted. There's many good ones,
Yeah.
but really a fan of some of the mid '90s Springbanks maybe, which were mind blowing.
Yeah.
Some of those mid '90s Springbanks I really loved a lot.
Let's
Oh
rephrase
no,
maybe.
the whiskey which blew me away last was the Port Cake, 45 years old.
Oh yeah. That's
The
a
old
Buna.
Bunnahabhain, that blew me away.
Yeah, I know you're a fan of
That
that
blew
one.
me
Yeah.
away. And apparently it was a twin cask of Old Acquaintance. So it was distilled in 1968. On the same day Bunnahabhain Old Acquaintance was distilled.
Chris, do you know
And
about this?
and
Chris Laurier.
I recently tasted Old Acquaintance again, and I had the impression it was a bit tired. It wasn't like the last time I tasted it.
Okay.
So I really would like to taste this Old Acquaintance next to the Port Cake 45 years old, because that really blew me away.
Yeah, put it head to head. Okay. Good tip. There's a couple of questions here in the live chat.
Mhm.
Chip chip chip. Will there be another Glorious Bastard, or was it a one-shot experience?
Glorious Bastard has been 4 casks in total. Has been First was a Ben Riach, then we had 2 casks of Ben Rinnes, and then we had 1 Milton Duff. And then I got a complaint by the SWA,
The
which said
Swa.
so SWA is the Scotch Whisky Association.
Yeah.
This was somebody else.
The Swa, yeah.
And they said gin is not a recognized cask type to use for whiskey. So I had to stop it, or else they were going to help me stop it. So they have more time and more money than I do. So I decided to stop it.
Oh, and didn't that change the regulations about that with the new casks that were allowed, or is it still gin is not
No,
allowed?
it says still gin's not allowed. They took tequila, I think, because
Yeah,
one of the big
tequila,
boys has
mezcal.
taken over tequila. One of the big boys has taken over Tequila Patron, so now they need to get rid of the
They need to get rid of the casks. Yeah, of course.
cask of tequila, of course.
Okay. Okay. And somebody else here is asking, and that will let's go to the rums. I think this is somebody from the Road Rummers. Will you let the Road Rummers taste some funky rum next season?
I'll try to. I'll try to.
You'll try to. Have you got anything in the pipeline, rum wise?
Yeah. There's quite things coming.
All right.
There's quite some things coming. So some
that-
nice discoveries as well.
And that's for the autumn, I guess, that you're releasing some stuff.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And now there's 5 new whiskies coming up, and there's 2 or 3 new rums. But the rums will be for September. The whiskies will be for a bit earlier.
Okay. For the rums, you already talked a little bit about how this gives you the sense of discovery again.
Mhm.
How hard is it to find the rums that you like, the casks of rum, I mean, and to decide to buy them? Is it really just a
Well-
case of I like this, I want this, or is it? How does that work?
In a way, the Rasta Morris is harder to select than the Asta Morris, because the Rasta Morris, we always say no dilution, no coloring, no chill filtration, for sure, no added sugar.
Yeah.
And the Asta Morris, so the whiskeys, sometimes they're diluted to the ideal drinking strength. So for me, the best drinking strength.
Mm.
So I think in that way, the rum is a bit more difficult to select,
Oh yeah, because you
And-
don't want to dilute them.
because I write it on the label. So
Yeah, of course,
technically I can't.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you don't, that's because you don't want to, because you choose to not do that.
Well, we choose with the rums to bottle it straight from the cask. So put a hole in the cask, put on the bottles, and straight from the cask to you, as a matter of speaking.
Rum wise, what was there your nicest discovery of the last couple years?
Biel. I'm crazy about this distillery,
Mhm.
and it all started. Itzel Vaval from Clérin-Vaval, from Distillery Vaval in Haiti,
Yep.
initiated us and the rums, and we had some meetings with her and tasted some samples, and it was all good, better, good, yeah, better, yeah, very good. And all of a sudden, she brought a sample of the Biel 2001 La Maison de Whisky, one of the 4 or 5 cask strength versions,
Yeah.
which really blew me away. I was like, wow, I want to go there. I want to visit that.
Where is Biel?
Biel is on Marie-Galante, which is an island next to Guadeloupe,
Okay. Yeah.
which is technically a part of Guadeloupe.
Yeah.
And we went there, had a very good conversation with the people on the spot, and were permitted to buy some casks. So meanwhile, we have a very good collaboration or a good relationship with the people from Biel. And for me, I told to many people, Biel is for me the Rolls Royce of the Caribbean. For me, I just love it what those guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a personal taste, personal preference. It's a personal thing because I also don't like Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's right spot on for my taste palette. But
Yep.
again, taste is a personal thing.
Well, you've got a fan here. Mark Dermul is saying, I want more Marie-Galante. He's saying so.
He means the rum.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
It can be arranged, Mark. We have to plan a meeting soon, I think.
Voila. So Mark, Bert, you'll find each other's, I'm sure. Another question. Hilde of Green Door, Dram 242, Mouthy Cows asks, when do you bottle a Bunnahabhain?
There is a cask of Bunnahabhain which has been bought in 2010 as new make.
So it's a 10-year-old
So
now.
when it will come out, no idea. But there has been 2 or 3 Bunnahabhains were bottled. There was 1987 and 1991, I think. One was on a bourbon cask, one was on a sherry cask, and one was bottled for Russia and Japan, and one was bottled for Belgium and Russia, I guess.
Okay.
So there have been 2 Bunnas already, and there's at least one more coming. For the rest, there's no projects on Bunnahabhain.
So in the next couple of years, we'll see a new Bunna from Castamoris. All right.
Probably.
It's a good thing you've mentioned the Far East and Russia and your ventures abroad, because we've had to miss you for a couple of years. Actually, a couple of years ago, you spent more time in the Far East than in Belgium. Maybe.
No.
Well, I'm kind of exaggerating, but well, there was you did a lot of work in Japan mainly, I think. How did that come about? How did you get so into Japan?
It came very, very odd, I must say. It was very, very special when that came along. All of a sudden, I got a Facebook message from a guy in Japan who asked me samples for a cask. And first of all, I was thinking, so I thought somebody is trying to pull me a leg or some. This is not real. I mean, I have some very typical friends. I have some very strange friends.
Well,
so
you are also one of those kind of types. I think
that's something for your account, of course. But,
of course, yeah.
And I sent samples, and then 5 weeks later or so, they send me a message. Okay, we want to bottle that cask. I said, this must be a joke. This can't be real. And then I sent an invoice, and 3 days later, I saw a payment coming in.
Okay.
So then
nice.
I had to bottle the cask and send it over. That was in, I believe, late 2014.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, they were asking me in the middle of 2015, why don't you come to Japan?
Okay.
I was like, okay, I come. And then I went to Japan for Tokyo Bar Show in 2015, in 2014, late 14, September, October 2014 that was.
Okay.
And I must say, Japan blew me away. I never ever had a culture shock like that in my whole life. It blew me away. The food, the people, the country, everything, the everything blew me away. And in fact, I just wanted to look for a way that I could go back as many times as possible. That was the main thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, that was also something I was wondering about. I kind of hinted at it. You are what we would call in Dutch een kapoen, eh? A sort of a rascal. You like joking. You like pulling someone's leg. How does that work in Japan? Because the culture is totally different there. It's
The
all
culture is totally different.
it's all
The
based on
culture is
respect
different.
and so how does that work? How do you fit in there?
Also, jokes are difficult. Jokes are difficult. For
Yeah, that was
example,
actually I wrote that down. How do you joke in Japan?
not.
You don't?
For example, a friend of mine, which many of you may know, which is Mark Watt.
Hmm.
Mark Watt was once hosting a tasting in Japan, one of his first, and they told him, Mark, don't tell any jokes because it's difficult to translate and people won't understand it. And he was like, okay, well, let's try just a little one. And he tried a little one in his tasting, and then the translator translated, and people were laughing a bit. He said,
Okay.
okay, well, let's try another one. He tried another one. He tried another one, and people were laughing more. And I tried one more, and people laughing, one more laughing, and he told jokes all evening, and people were dead laughing. But in the audience was a friend of Mark who is fluently Japanese speaking.
Okay.
And after the tasting, Mark went to him and said, "Did you see that? I nailed that one. That was a great one." And they were still laughing at my jokes. And that friend said, Mark, stop, 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 stop. It was embarrassing," he said. What do you mean? What do you mean?" Well, your translator just said, "Guys, I think he told a joke. Please laugh."
Okay. That is
So
embarrassing. Well, they did do it. They did laugh. So that was kind of nice of them.
that's because they're polite.
That yeah, that's what I was getting at. They're also very polite all the time.
That's
But
because they're
how
polite.
how hard is that for you to work in that environment? Because you are very open and joking, and how hard is that?
It's not hard. It's something that's not even imposed. It just comes like that,
Okay.
and you feel what you can do, what you can't do.
Yeah.
It's something you have to feel. Something you have to. The elbows we say in Dutch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have
You,
to
you,
feel
you
that.
have to test the waters first and see how far you
Mhm.
can go, what you can say, what you can't say. Yeah. Also, you're bottling. You have bottled a couple of chichibus,
Mhm.
which is extraordinary. That doesn't happen. How did that come to being? How did you get the privilege to have a cask of chichibu?
Now I believe the third one, the third one just has been done.
Okay.
So this was to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Aston Morris. But how to bottle a chichibu is just a question of building up relationship and be patient.
Hmm.
That's the only way.
Okay. And why did you plan ahead building that relation because you wanted to
No,
no, it
no.
was just building the relationship and it came about.
It just yeah. Well, I met Ichiro-san for the first time at the Tokyo Bar Show in 2014 when I was there for the first time in Japan.
Hmm.
And Yumi also was at the company back then already. And I remember tasting there at that venue for the first time in my whole life the bottlings of Chichibu. And it also blew me away from the first time. I said, for such a young spirit, because then the oldest Chichibus then were 6 years old in 2014. And if you can get that complexity and that kind of depth and flavor in a whiskey which is max 6 years old, it's amazing. And then
Hmm.
then then and then I started talking to many people. Chichi was next big thing, and the people who believe me today will be happy. I think
Yeah, because they bought the bottles and hope.
because I think it's a good thing owning some today.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah.
Because today, if I'm tasting some of the Mull Dream casks, which are the ones distilled in 2008, 2009, they are just mind blowing. Some of them are just absolutely fabulous,
Hmm. Yeah.
but
What
not easy to get hold on.
how different are they from the Scottish whiskies? Is it again an example of something new you discovered?
it's a different style. And also, you have to see the climate under which they mature is totally different. So there's some other parameters, and they also focus incredibly on details at Chichibu. For example, they have been cleaning their mash tun with all different kinds of soaps
Okay.
to see what soap has the best effect on their final product. I mean, if you do that kind of things, are you then a maniac? Yes, then you are such a maniac, and that's the way they do it at Chichibu.
Yeah, but it pays off because it pays off to get better spirit.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, but it's just focus on detail. It's also like if you see Japanese cars, for example, even there, I have a friend who owns a garage of Opel and he owns a garage of Nissan. And he says if at Opel there's a spare part that breaks under warranty, Opel says throw it away and put in a new one. If at Nissan a spare part breaks under warranty, the Japanese guys say, okay, take out the piece and please do send us because it's not possible that it breaks now.
We have to investigate. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
detail counts.
Yeah.
Every detail counts.
Is there Chichibu was a really good tip to follow now, but especially a couple years ago? Are there any
Mhm.
other secret tips you might want to share with
Well,
everybody?
I think the next big thing in Japan will be Shizuoka Distillery
Yeah. Are you working with
because
them too?
Shizuoka, sorry,
Are you working with them too?
Shizuoka Distillery is owned by Gaia Flow, who is my Japanese importer.
Yeah.
And Shizuoka Distillery bought all the remaining equipment and stills of Karuizawa Distillery.
Okay.
So they have the malt mill, and one of the wash stills comes from Karuizawa, and the other wash still is heated by direct wood fire, which is
Okay.
quite unique, I would say. Which is
Yeah.
quite unique, I would say.
Which was abandoned in a lot of distilleries because it was too
Exactly.
labor intensive and not efficient
and
enough.
and and and, and not easily controllable. I
Yeah.
mean, if you have with the gas, you can turn and you have the temperatures you want. If you have the direct wood fire, it's not that easy to control.
Yeah. Mark is saying kaizen. Kaizen is the term the Japanese use for the to be maniacal and craftsmanship to focus on detail for a lot.
I think Mark Japanese is way better than mine.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I wasn't familiar with the word. No, I wasn't familiar with the word.
I heard the word kaizen before, but it's good that he mentioned it because it's a good thing. Um, Japan, you worked a lot in Japan. You were telling me before we started that you recently did a tasting in Australia. Um, I know you're in Hong Kong too with your bottlings.
Mhm.
Um, is it are you really conquering the world Far East first?
It's not a question of conquering the world. It's a question of people sending me an email. Would it be possible to work together? It's not a question of me wanting to conquer the world, let's say.
No,
But if some exotic countries ask something, I mean,
why
it's a
not?
nice way of discovering of seeing a part of the world, of course.
Yeah.
For example, 2 years ago, I went to Budapest to the whiskey show just as a tourist because a friend of mine invited me there,
Yeah.
and I was blown away by the city. I love that city. It's a great place to be. And 1 year later, I was there with the stand of Aston Morris at the Budapest whiskey show.
Yeah.
I had a very good tasting there. It was good fun. It was great fun.
Yeah. Okay. Um, somebody I asked because somebody here, I think it was Lady Buna again. What about India? Are you in Asta? Are you in India like Paul John is in Europe? Is that a dream to be in India?
A dream would be something nice, but a dream.
It doesn't have to be. Okay, I'll ask a different question.
Mhm.
What in the spirits world, in the drinks business, what would you what is one of your what is on your bucket list? What do you still want to do?
Canada and United States.
Yeah, and why is
And
that?
I
Because of the country, or
never been there.
you've never been?
I,
So
I
you
was 1 weekend. I was 1 week in Toronto, which was great. I love the country as well.
yeah. I think Canada is nice. I haven't been to Canada. I've been to the States, but
But if
haven't
you're
been to
always
Canada.
going east, once it's good to go west, of course.
Yeah, you can just fly on, of course, and then pass through the States on the way back.
It's a hell of a ride, man.
Yeah, I know. What are people saying? People, there's lots of chat going on. So uh, yeah, somebody's asking about Tipsy Turtle. Tell me about Tipsy Turtle, or tell people about Tipsy Turtle. I know what Tipsy Turtle is, but
Tipsy Turtle, that's this one.
yeah.
And Tipsy Turtle is a rum which is also from Biel Distilleries, from Marigalante.
Hmm.
So it's also an agricole rum, which means based on the sugarcane juice.
Yeah, and not on the molasse.
And yeah, and Tipsy Turtle is a rum ambré, which means it's distilled and matured for less than 2 years.
Okay.
And there's Tipsy Turtle ambré, which is distilled once only on the column still. And then there's the Rasta Morris ambré with the white label, which is distilled. That's a premium. That's ambré premium,
Hmm.
and that one is distilled on the column still and on a pot still,
Okay. Okay.
which makes a totally different character.
Yeah. Chris has a good question, I think.
Mhm.
We're beginning to see more and more beer cask finishes. What is your opinion on that? What
I think it's good that people do it, but it's not my preference. So I don't think there will be Aston Morris bottlings on beer casks.
uh, have you got
It's
any
not
connection?
something. Sorry,
Are you into beer?
I'm a big goose lover. I love goose.
Hmm.
I have many gooses in my cellar,
Yeah. But
but I don't think I haven't tasted any beer cask whiskey so far which I really like. Again, personal preference.
yeah, of course.
I don't like the
Maybe
Brussels sprout.
is it maybe because the beer is often not strong enough to leave a lasting impression on the whiskey? Is that maybe the case?
I would say the inverse. For me, beer is often too dominant on the whiskey.
Really?
For
Okay.
me, yes.
Okay.
For me, it's often too dominant on the whiskey.
I don't
For
have my.
example, I tasted some IPA cask finishes, of which I said, "Ooh,
Yeah, it's a weird thing because in the beer world there's obviously a lot of whiskey and rum finishes, but what
mhm,
I see in the beer world is that people don't really know what they're using. I mean, just a couple of months ago, I saw um, it was a barrel aged beer, and it said Speyside on the front, and the tasting note said very peaty. So I was like, okay,
Ardmore." Must have
uh,
been Ardmore.
yeah, it wasn't Ardmore because it was three distilleries. I think it was Glenallachie, Glenrothes, and one other. And I was like, but they don't do PT whiskies. Um, and then I tasted it, and it doesn't have any peat at all. It's barrel aged, but it's not peaty. So they probably got their information, they got their casks, and somebody told them this is peaty. But so there's a lot of knowledge still left to be
Hmm.
spread among the beer bottlers too about
But we have
casks.
we have an old Belgian saying, Arun, which says, "In the land of the blind, the one with one eye is the king."
Of course, yeah, yeah.
So I
But
think that might be applicable on this
on
kind of things.
on this story, yeah. I found it really well, not eye opening because I know there's things like that going on, but the level of how much people don't know is very high. So I think it's very important for. I mean, we're often at whiskey festivals where novices,
Hmm.
new people are coming. I think it's very important to tell them the right stories. I mean, you've told me a lot of stories about how you talked to people on the other end of the table that were pouring that didn't really know their stuff either.
Well, it's not just a question of not knowing. It's more a question if you hear a guy behind a whiskey stand explaining a whole story about we are launching this weekend a bottling of 25 years old and a bottling of 18 years old, and the 18 years old is much saltier than the 25 years old, because the 18 years old has been maturing in warehouse number 1, and warehouse number 1 is 300 meters closer to the sea than
Yeah.
warehouse number 5, where the
Yeah.
other one has been maturing. I mean, then you have to say stop, because if you're giving wrong information to people just out of marketing purposes, we have to say stop. We have to say what you're telling is just utter rubbish and bullshit.
Mm-hmm. No, that's what
Because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
the molecule natrium chloride will never ever
It's too
be
big.
able to penetrate the cask. So even if you throw a cask in the sea and leave it there for 25 years, not one molecule of salt will go into that cask. So what he tells is just utter rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
And the
course. Yeah.
problem is that today many things are marketing driven, and sometimes those people of marketing tell stories which aren't 100% corresponding to reality, let's say.
Yeah. For the record, I love marketing if it's well done. But just the problem is there's lots of marketing that isn't well done. So
That's
because
done that's done in a different way.
in a different way, let's just leave it to that. Yeah, because we weren't going to talk about marketing. We promised. So
Mhm,
questions about glasses.
mhm.
Mark sees you're using the 1920s Blender's glass.
Yeah, the whiplash
Uh,
glass.
what is your experience with that? How do you like that?
I always call it the whiplash glass.
The whiplash glass? Why is that? Because okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's so deep and until the liquid touches your lips.
Yeah. Do you
Well,
think that
it's
it
very
makes a
good for
big difference?
nosing, but you don't have to take high alcohols in this, because if you take high alcohols, it burns the hairs in your nose.
Okay, yeah, because it all stays in
Mm.
much more. Yeah. Do you think there's a because I often see these discussions on the Facebook pages about which glass is best to taste whiskey from? Does it really
It
make a
does
big
make a
difference?
huge difference. It can
Yeah.
make a huge difference. And for me, I remember I used to be malt maniac from 2006 till 2011,
Yeah.
and I tasted the Malt Maniac Awards 4 times as an official judge. And I remember one of those evenings I was tasting the awards, and I had 6 whiskeys which had all just the same noses. I thought that was weird. I take 6 new ones, again 6 times the same nose,
Okay.
and I was tasting from Glencairn glasses.
Yeah.
And I took away the glasses and took glasses of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, the SMWS glasses.
Yeah.
And from those, I had 6 different noses. So ever
Okay.
since, I never used Glencairns again.
Okay.
And if I really if I really want to taste technically, I take or this one or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society glasses.
And I don't see the Scotch Malt Whisky Society glasses before me. Are they getting closer
The
to each
tulip.
other? More tulip.
It's yeah, yeah. I have one standing on my.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
give me 1 second, I can take
No,
one.
we'll let people imagine that. So okay, so it does make a big for tasting. Technically, I can imagine that it
Well,
makes a
Chris
difference.
Loris must be able to share a picture on his Facebook.
Yeah, Chris, if you're still there, share it on your Facebook and tell everybody that Bert said it was the best glass to taste from.
For me, it's a very good glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Well, Bert, as I told you beforehand, normally we promise people half an hour of a talk. We've been chatting for 55 minutes already, so I'm kind of maybe getting to a close. We'll see how long it takes us to close
Mhm.
this off. But
But
um,
you're the boss in the end. I haven't got any buttons. I can't do
well,
anything.
I can shut us off right now, but I'm not going to do that because I'm enjoying this. But a couple of things I really wanted to ask you. I ask everybody the same questions,
Mhm.
which is nice to do. Um, one of them is um, I give you eternal life. You live forever from now on, and you get to take one bottle, and it will fill itself eternally. So you can drink as much as you want, but it's just one thing. You can't change. What would that be?
Well, it's an answer that everybody knows who knows me.
Oh well, tell
It'll
us.
be the Bowmore
The Fino,
1964 Fino cask,
the Fino cask. Yeah.
which remains the best whiskey I have ever tasted in my whole life.
So it will be whiskey.
think so, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it can't be a punishment to drink more Fino for the rest of your life, even if it's
I mean,
eternally.
every day, one day you might be happy to get a cup of coffee, I think.
Yeah. Probably, probably. Yeah. All right. A really quick and definite answer. Pretty good. Um, also, you get a date with somebody. You can choose whoever
Mhm.
it can be, living or dead. Um, who would that be, and what would you drink with it with that person?
For doing what?
You can choose what you want to do.
One more evening with Mark Watt, like the ones we had before.
Okay.
I can remember memorable moments with Mr. Mark Watt.
Okay.
Once I believe it was 2004, 2005. Mark was still working at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society in Leith at the Vaults.
Yeah.
And normally you need to be a member to get in, and you need to be paying for all the whiskies you're tasting. So I got smuggled in, tasted all of the best whiskies, didn't pay for anything. And then we took a train from Edinburgh to Glasgow, which is basically half an hour train.
Hmm.
And we had a bottle of Bowmore from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, new bottle which was empty when we arrived in Glasgow.
Okay.
And that very bottle is still in my office and has
The empty
Mark's
bottle.
signature.
Yeah.
Sorry, the empty
The
bottle.
empty
Yeah, the
bottle.
empty
Yeah.
bottle is still in my office and has my signature, Mark's signature, and the eternal words whiskey is for life and we know it. And that
Okay.
bottle will never ever go away from my office.
It's good to keep stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's living
And
heritage.
yeah, is that also maybe? I also try to look on the Facebook pages of the people I'm talking to. In the info, there's a spot where you can put your motto, your slogan,
Mhm,
your life motto.
mhm.
There's nothing in your page, but is that a good? Is that
Is there
a
nothing?
no? There's nothing there. Is that one is that one in the running for being your life's motto? The quote from Mark.
I have so many life mottos.
Okay, tell me the one you think of right now.
It's all about having fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes people forget having fun with whiskey. And whiskey is made for having fun and to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I th-
Sometimes I mean, when I was just a malt maniac, I was every tasting writing notes, or quoting, writing points, writing notes. And now writing tasting notes for me, it's a punishment.
yeah, it's work.
I don't like writing tasting notes.
No. I can completely agree with that because
If I can read, if I read the things that Sergio Valentin is posting on Whiskey Fun or that Ruben's posting on Whiskey Notes, I admire what those people are doing every day
yeah, yeah.
because it's a job. It's a hell of a job. And those guys sometimes it's just poetry they're writing.
Yeah. I
And
agree
and I'm
completely.
talking, and there's many other bloggers. There's quite some very good bloggers who write really nice things, and I'm jealous of what those guys are doing. I'm jealous. It's great what those guys are doing.
Yeah, but I mean
And every day again.
but it's because that's what they love to do. I can imagine. I stopped
Yeah, but
taking
after
notes
all
about
those
whiskey.
years, every day.
Yeah. I know. I see in the chat that you've urged a lot of people to get new glasses now for their whiskey. So
Oops.
and they're throwing away all their Glencairn glasses, and they're getting in touch right now with Chris to order some
They're
SMWS
really great.
glasses.
They're really great. They're really great. Really great
Chris,
glasses.
Chris, this is free commercial.
I'll send an invoice afterwards.
Yeah, you'll send the invoice. But
Can
Chris,
be paid in liquid.
yeah, Chris is also saying a great words. Whiskey is fun and is made for to be enjoyed in good company.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And today, sometimes it makes me smile if people buy whiskey as investment.
Yep.
Because when we bought whiskeys back then, we bought them and tasted them because we liked whiskey and we wanted to drink whiskey. But today, people buy it, don't open it, and keep it and want to sell it for 7 million euros in some years.
But it
With
even
some
gets
cask.
It even
Some
gets hard
exceptional
for
cards.
it even gets
Sorry?
hard for people that want to drink the whiskeys because they buy a bottle and then they maybe leave it for 2 years and then they want to open it and then they see that it's tripled in price, so it gets harder to drink it.
That's why I have to drink it before.
Yeah, you have to drink it quicker. That's also
You
good,
know,
really sound
i-
advice.
in my office, I have a closet, and on the closet are all the most beautiful bottles which I ever opened, lined up. And once I had my father over in my office. He looked up the closet. He said, "If you're adding up all the values of all those bottles, how much would you have?" I took a look at the bottles. Said, "Maybe a small house, Daddy."
Yeah.
Should have seen the face.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, you're probably right. Yeah, because that's maybe a good example also about the kaizen that we were talking about earlier,
Mm,
the Japanese attention to detail.
mm,
When you're at the Highlander Inn that is owned by Tatsuya right now,
mm.
Tatsuya Minagawa, he has all the beautiful bottles lined up along the shelves of the, but they're all opened, but they're still full. So what he does is he fills them again with tea, but he tries to match the color of the original whiskey by making stronger or darker tea to make it appear
That's
like the.
Japanese.
That's
That's
Japanese.
Japanese.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I thought because I was watching that, I was like, wow, all these bottles, and then I noticed that they were all opened. All the caps were off. And then he told me, yeah, it's just tea inside, but he tries to match the colors with the original whiskey, which is
He's
beautiful,
a
I
great
think.
guy. He's a
Yeah,
great guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What else is there in the live chat here? Chris is arranging some good liquids for your free commercials there, so that's good. Um, um, so Tim is saying that's also marketing. So well, yeah.
That's different marketing.
That's different kind of marketing. Yeah. Oh, Yannick,
Yeah.
Yannick van Dijk. He has a really good
Mhm.
name, I think. Van Dijk. Two of her is three best tasting experience of last year were with you. So there you go.
I think
Um,
I think one of the two I can right away tell you which one it was.
which one was that? Tell me.
It was a Dalmore tasting in Antwerp, a Dalmore dinner in Antwerp. That was a nice one.
Oh,
That was
was
even an impressive one. That's one of
oh
the
that was
best
at the Jane.
experiences. Yeah,
Uh,
that was one of the best experiences I also had. The pairings those guys did, and even what Gianluca did with the Dalmore, it also blew me away.
mhm.
The cocktails he had made with Dalmor, it was just amazing. So yeah, Yannick was there as well. He was sitting at my right. So
Yeah.
we had a nice evening.
Okay. Chris is now saying that's why Tatsuya always refuses me a dram of the old acquaintance bottle. That's because
Because
there's
it's
tea.
tired.
That's because there's tea in there.
Okay.
Okay. Um. I have one last question I had prepared, but people can keep asking questions in the live chat.
Mhm.
Is oh well, now I actually have two. How much is what you do with Asta Morris, Rasta Morris, a reflection of who you are,
Totally.
and in what way then?
Well, I'm doing everything myself. So it's everything completely what I like and how I would do it and what I prefer. It's all my personal stuff.
Hmm.
It's completely who I am.
Give us an example. How can we see in an Asta Morris bottle who Bert Brunel is,
That's
or
a good
taste it,
question.
or taste it maybe?
Well, I have people telling me it's different. Well, one of my favorite bartenders said, "In your selections, I always find that."
Hmm.
He said that there's always orange in what you select. For example, it
Really?
might be
Okay.
something small. Yeah, he said I can always find oranges in what you select.
Do you like oranges?
Then, not particularly,
Okay.
not particularly. But also a very nice compliment came of a friend. He says, "I know what you select. I always like it. So it's always." I think that's the main thing about Aston Morris. People know after a while what direction it's always going.
Hmm. I think that that's and I talked to the in the nine late nights we did. This was a recurring theme. I mean, it was the same with Stuart
Mhm.
from Ben Riach, Glenglassaugh, Glendronach.
Stuart, my
He's
great friend Stuart.
Yeah, but he's also mean he personifies Ben Riach for me.
And so do I. But I love Ben Riach. Ben Riach is one of my first loves, and
Yeah.
I have the Stuart memorable walks through the warehouses at 2 o'clock in the night. We had nightly visits at at Glendronach at 1 in the night.
Hmm.
So Stuart and I we had some memorable moments together.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
The thing I'm getting at is that um, if you have Ben Riach, you always associate this with Stuart, if you know Stuart, of course. If you have an Asta Morris, you immediately see Bert before you.
I
You,
don't know
you
if that I don't know if that's a good thing.
well, I'll leave that in the middle, but you know what I'm getting at. I mean, this is a really I mean, it's really a personal thing. I mean,
Mhm.
it's this is you. Uh, and I think it's in it's also in the quirkiness, the labels that you use. I mean, just the way, just the name in itself is a joke. It
But
started as a
if I
joke.
if I if I would start again, I wouldn't use that name.
Why
I wouldn't
not?
do that because it's a joke.
And you want it to be more serious?
But I didn't start Aston Morris for bottling whiskies initially. Aston
Mm-hmm.
Morris was just started for invoicing tastings I was hosting for two Belgian importers and for invoicing articles I was writing for the leading Dutch spoken whiskey magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, I never planned on bottling whiskies with Aston Morris.
Mm-hmm.
But now today it would be too expensive and too hard or too
To
difficult
change it.
to change it. So why bother?
Why bother? But then
But
you also embrace it because then you start bottling rums and you call them Rasta Morris.
wait, there's more coming up.
Can you talk about that? About what's coming? Or is
Yeah,
that for the next talk?
that's for the next talk. Give me 3 more months for that. But
3 more months. Okay. Yeah. No, but you know what I'm getting at. I mean, it all adds to the experience of the bottlings you do, I think.
that's something I really also want to keep because, for example, that's also why I do all cask selections alone and by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're tasting with more people, then you go for compromises.
Yeah.
And if you're selecting alone, then sometimes you might have love it or hate it. But there's a single cask yields 250 to 350 bottles, so you can never do good for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of personality or this kind of personal touch is something which has to be maintained at Aston Morris.
I think so too. I think that's a big draw to what you're doing.
Mm.
But yeah. So that was, yeah, okay. That was something I wanted to ask and talk about in the chat. The last
Mhm.
official question I always ask people is well, it's difficult because you do a lot of different kinds of stuff. But can whiskey, rum, gin save the
Mhm.
world?
That's a tricky one. Gin won't.
Gin will not save the world.
Gin
It
won't.
it already tried in the 18th century, and that mainly ruined the UK. So
So now we have Brexit. So
Mhm.
no, but will whiskey or rum change the world? I don't know it. But for me, which can help saving the world is, for example, if you see people around the tasting table who have all different backgrounds, who have all different jobs, different families, different whatever, if they gathered around a tasting table with whiskey, all backgrounds disappear, and people all together talk about one passion or about one whiskey. And so people who in real life would maybe never talk to each other have a great evening together. And
Hmm.
that's a way in which whiskey and rum can maybe help saving the world. Because I think for me that's one of the most beautiful things about drinking and enjoying whiskey is just that you meet so many fantastic people, and you get to places and get to evenings and get atmospheres and stuff which you would never have without a whiskey or without a rum.
Yeah,
So whiskey and rum in that way can, it won't save it, but it can help to make it a better or a more pleasant place, I think.
you can reconcile two people with completely different opinions on matters
Exactly.
by getting them into the mutual place of enjoying
Exactly.
something nice,
Yep. Yep.
and that may be the opening for them to even
Yep.
understand each other better.
Because I have friends with which I have some teams on which we don't really agree, but I mean,
Yeah,
everybody has his opinion. You have to respect everybody's opinion. But if we're having drams together, I mean,
yeah,
we don't even talk about that.
yeah. I have the same experience. If I look around my Facebook nowadays, I see opinions from all over the place,
Mhm.
but I know that I can enjoy a dram with these people.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Yeah, nice.
Once I read a meme who says opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one.
That's Clint Eastwood. Yeah,
Is it?
yeah, it's Clint Eastwood. He used that somewhere in a movie, I think. Yeah, yeah.
I
Uh,
like that
we
one.
we got some good suggestions in the live chat for
Mhm.
extending your range. You can do if you're starting bourbon, you can do Basta Morris. You can go into Pasta Morris. If you're doing grappa, maybe that might be nice.
Yeah. Well,
Casta
grappa.
Morris from IKEA. Mark suggests Casta Morris. If you do build your own cocktails, maybe something like that.
Then I can go together with Mark Kastermans.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So there's oh yeah, maybe yeah. How did you come up with the frog in the Asta Morris label? Where does that come from?
Well, that's a question that's been asked to me quite some times before, and people who know the tube in which Aston Morris bottles are packed know there's a frog on the window,
Yeah.
also. And my designer had made that tube, and the space between the window and the Aston Morris on the top was empty. And I was like, David, for me that's too empty. Can you please put something in between? And on that the kind of things I can be a maniac, or I can be quite difficult, or quite persisting.
Yeah.
And he put me two, three, four, five suggestions, and every time I said, "Oh, I don't like it. Maybe something else, or it's not really what I expected, or maybe try something different." And all of a sudden, so David is a good friend of mine from many years ago already. And all of a sudden, he said, "Boof," and he put a frog above the window. I was like, "Yeah, that."
So
And then
yeah,
later on, he designed me shirts. He designed me Aston Morris shirts, and out of the breast pocket, there was the frog popping up and
popping
holding
up.
the
Yeah.
breast pocket as a support. And in Japan, people were crazy. People loved the shirts with the frog,
Really?
and that's the story about the frog. In fact,
Okay. So you are a little bit Kaizen yourself if it comes to design and stuff.
just being difficult.
Just being difficult. Yeah, yeah. Bas Guns, that must be Bastin, probably Bastin Guns. He's saying this
Mhm.
tipsy turtle is amazing bang for your buck. So he's enjoying that one.
That was the main purpose of it. That was the main purpose of it, because Biel can be expensive to very expensive, and we wanted a Biel to be accessible for more people, because I can imagine some BLs are very high priced. So we wanted something which was really, as he calls it, a bang for the buck.
No.
I think price quality it's a correct bottling.
Yeah. All
Price
right.
pleasure ratio, how you call it.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we are now in for an hour and 16 minutes. So we are officially the longest Mug Late Night ever. That was our goal, Bert, I think.
But you see, for me, that's the thing which is the most special, or the most which I like least to something online. You have a good chat with people, you have drinks, you enjoy yourself, tell some jokes, have
Hmm.
some fun, have a laugh. And all of a sudden, yeah, now we come to the end, bye bye, and then everybody click and it's out, and then there you are, all by yourself, and then sitting here and having to clean up my bottles, having to clean up my glasses, having to carry up my computer. I mean, we should go and have a drink together, or go and have a beer
I
and tell some
know,
funny stories together.
I know, I know, I know.
Actually,
Um,
impossible, I'm afraid.
but the thing is, I would never have done this if this whole Corona thing hadn't happened. I wouldn't even have thought about doing these online things. But
Mhm.
I guess we're stuck with these for now. Um, and I do enjoy them actually because you get to talk to people in a different way.
Which is correct, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, yeah,
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
it was going to take us too long.
It's going to take us too long.
It was
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to
yeah.
take us too. It's going to take us too far. I'll tell you in private.
Yeah, yeah. We'll work that out next time we have coffee somewhere. Um,
Well, anyway, if there's people having questions about Astamoros or wanting to ask me whatever, just send me an email or send me a Facebook message or send me whatever, and I will gladly answer you or help you further or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
would be my pleasure to help or answer any one of you.
I think what Bert is saying is right, and I have the experience myself. He answers everything if you ask him something. So
Politely, politely.
politely, if you ask politely, if you shake hands with him in the correct way, because that's something I learned from him. We can't do that anymore now.
Just. I learned you to shake hands in a polite and
Yeah, and once I learned, we got forbidden how to shake hands anymore. So well, there you go. Um, no, I'm going to thank you for the talk in a couple seconds. I'd like to thank everybody watching because yeah, it's nice to have people watching and asking questions too. It adds to the interactivity of the whole thing. That's what I enjoy about this. As you've seen, we always have a little banner running below on the screen, which has, of course, our website, which has the website from Asta Morris as a link.
Mhm.
And we also try and also always give a little tip to support your locals. And today, I don't know if he's watching, but I put Tenerrewaarde on there, the restaurant from Bart. So try that, check it. He still does takeaway. I think you can go there to eat something too. It's
and
a
his
nice place.
takeaway, his seafood takeaway is marvelous.
There you go.
And
But
as a matter, for the story, Bart and I. So Bart has a restaurant right. It's here 15 minutes away from where I live. But as children, Bart and I lived in the same street. In fact,
oh yeah,
Bart is just 2 or 3 years older than me, and we
yeah,
lived in the same street. I didn't remember that.
okay, yeah,
But he was a bit older, and he had one of the neighbors were the same age, and I was a bit scared of those two big guys, and I never talked to them. And
yeah,
then all of a sudden, I visited his restaurant for a tasting, and then he told me the story. So yeah, right, it was you, and then I recognized him,
yeah.
but I have forgotten about that.
Well, the thing is, I like to put some tips for those kinds of places on the screen. It helps them, but it kind of extends to every local place you have, your local bar, your local restaurant. Go there, enjoy good food, enjoy nice drinks, because it really helps them, and we need it right now to support your locals. So do that. I don't really have anything concrete to suggest in tasting wise because the summer is starting right now. But in the autumn, Mug wise, we'll be doing a series of 10 tastings in Schilde at the Jones Food Bar. We'll do beer tastings, whiskey tastings, rum tastings, gin tonic, whatever. It's kind of a tasting academy. You'll find all information about that on the Mug website soon and on the Facebook page. If you are not a fan yet, come and join us at the Mug Facebook page and the Asta Morris Facebook page and the Rasta Morris Facebook page, of course. In the meantime, yeah, just enjoy yourselves. Have a good summer. Uh, there's coming lots of thank yous for the talk in the live chat now, Bert. That's also for you, of course. And then to close it off, I want to thank you for being my final guest in this first season of Mug Late Night, which I
Well,
enjoy
I
thoroughly.
want to thank you for having me, for inviting me, and maybe if we think otherwise, let's hope we don't get a second season.
Yeah.
If we think Corona wise, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do with this concept because I really enjoy this. I can do this from home, and it's
Mhm.
basically a work of love because I like doing this. I might do this again, even if there's no Corona anymore, and just keep on doing this because it's fun. But give us feedback. Tell